a DK-KUUN's live stream. Today is a simple live stream that we're gonna test out today, based on the healer preset. As you can see, I was not paying attention and I have been knocked out, but that's perfectly alright. So, let's go find a nice rooftop away from enemies that we can use for today's showcase. Please feel free to hit that like, subscribe, and yeah, enjoy the video. I will not be playing any music in this video today, simply because I actually want this to be an informative video. So this is my main OC, Oceanus Prime. There's a lot of lore to go in about him. I'm gonna do that in a different video at some point. But today, so we're gonna be looking at water healers on DC. A lot of people, not the first one. I want to make that very clear. I'm not the first one to do this, but a lot of people have already made healer water presets. Multiverse has probably made a video about this. I know a bunch of people in some of my former leagues that I've been in have made a water healer preset, and everybody pretty much plays differently. Me personally, I don't want to dump everything into just heals. I don't think that that's a wise decision, because you have to have a decent balance. Any gamer worth his salt is gonna know you can't just rely solely on heals. Now me, any game I play, I love playing the healer. Whether it's DC Universe Online, Shinobi Striker, Dungeons and Dragons, any game that I play, healer is gonna be my main. I love playing that support role, but even with that, there still needs to be a level of DPS that you have to do, because like in life, you need a balance. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the way I build my healer role. Now, I want to keep this in mind. I am by no means up to snuff with everyone else in terms of skill points. So a lot of people that I know, a lot of people in my league have like 400 plus skill points. I don't. As you can see, I only have 251 skill points. Now, one thing you should know, especially on DC Universe Online, whatever your power set will determine, your role. I actually started with ice, and never really knew how to properly roll with ice. It wasn't until I switched to water that I started really getting into the role and started building my role-specific character. So, this is the water tree, obviously. We're not going to go into that today. That'll be a different video. A lot of people have different loadouts. A lot of people say that, oh, you're supposed to do it this way, blah, 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 blah. That's not going to be me. I've worked a lot on this loadout, and I didn't do it alone. A lot of this is by myself, coming up. I probably got into the high 200s by myself, just playing with me and my brother. But a lot of my leagues have helped me fine-tune, and I'm still fine-tuning on my own now that I properly know what to do. So here's my loadout for healer. What we've got here this is what I recommend. This loadout works fantastic for me, honestly. So we've got, and I'm honestly probably going to tweak this a bit, matter of fact, while I'm doing this video. So I run Solace of the Sea. As you can see, it has a 12-second cooldown, costs 300 power, but I've got plenty of that, so I don't need to worry about that. You can see the description, creates a pool of medicinal water and aquatic life that heals you and your allies over time. Now, one thing I do know about this, and this is something that people have said, oh, your heals aren't hitting me. My heals will hit you. If you're playing as a water healer and you use Solace of the Sea, don't worry about what people are saying. Alright? Your pool will hit them. Alright? You will be doing your proper heals so long as you're in the boss room with them. As long as they're within a certain range of you, and depending on how powerful your heals are, your range will increase. As I am right now with 251 skill points, my heals just with one Solace of the Sea pool can reach an entire boss room. As long as you're in my sight and I can see you, you'll be healed. Now, granted, there is a range, and I tested this long ago, but the range is essentially a boss room, and you can be on the opposite end of the boss room, and my heals will still get you. Along with Solace of the Sea, you're gonna want to run something that will, that will stack that effect. A lot of people will tell you, run this, run that. I like to run Riptide, so I do Solace of the Sea on square, on L1 square, or L2 square, I'm sorry, then Riptide on triangle. And the reason for that, is because, you're going to want double pools. So you do Solace of the Sea, then you do Riptide, and then run Solace of the Sea again. Now, for the longest with this preset, I've been running this loadout. Solace of the Sea, Riptide, and then on my circle, Mending Wave. And the reason that I use Mending Wave is, well, for one, it's a group heal, not a priority heal. I've seen a lot of water healers who prefer to use, where was it? Here we go, Soothing Mist, priority heal. That's great. It covers yourself and your least healthy group member with a Soothing Water healing them. Problem is, Soothing Mist is a high tide specific. Now, granted, it has a much shorter cooldown, I think. Yeah, it has a 0.5 second cooldown versus a 3 second cooldown. But you're really not getting the full effect of Soothing Mist unless you're running High Tide. And that's great and all. I don't run High Tide, so I'm not going to use Soothing Mist. Again, High Tide runs with Mending Wave too, but it's a critical heal at that point, and I don't want that critical hit. I'm not running critical hit chances. And again, Mending Wave is a group heal, which covers you and the most 3 injured group members. That alone is better than Soothing Mist, in my own personal opinion. And I've been running that on Circle. We'll get to why I'm going to change it in a bit. Tempest Guard is my R2X, or L2X, I'm sorry. Shield, great. With my white mods that I have, anytime I use a shield ability, it heals me over time. Summon a shield made of water to guard you from incoming damage. Again, with High Tide, a lot of water players use High Tide because all these effects have High Tide. At least these two require High Tide if you want the full effect. I mean, healer roll, as you can see, it guards up to 7 group members from incoming damage. And that's great. That's what I use it for. I use that alongside Bubble. Excuse me. And the reason I use Bubble is, again, it's a shield, and in healer roll, it surrounds up to 3 group members with a bubble that prevents incoming damage. That alone is perfect for the way that I play. my triangle's probably not gonna change. My triangle's gonna stay as Flood of Power. Um, you know, it costs 5,000, but supercharged. But honestly, that's really worth it with the way I've got my tune set up, and we'll get more in depth of that as the video goes on. Surround yourself in a large amount of water, granting you power and immunity to crowd control effects, shielding you from incoming damage, and reducing your active water superpower cooldowns by a large amount. And again, it's usable while you're controlled. So this is a really great supercharge to use, especially you can use it in a PvP, you can use it in a raid, PvE, whatever you're playing as if you're playing as a water healer. Flood of Power is actually a really great skill that I recommend a lot of water healers use, and I recommend you keep it on your R2 triangle. Why? Because you don't need much else. You're not going to use Tranquil Pool, which is right down here. Um, if you use Tranquil Pool, that's on you. That's your prerogative. Just know it is going to take everything you've got. All of your supercharge that you've built up, gone in one shot. It's great if you're running High Tide. If you're running a High Tide preset, I highly recommend Tranquil Pool as your ultimate, simply because it grants you a bubble if you use it and you're in High Tide. And it heals you and your group and your entire group over time, which is it's a great effect. However, the way that I'm playing, I need Flood of Power. So again, it's less supercharge required. I've got a full bar. The way I've got my tunes set up right now, I can pop Flood of Power probably 4 times in one raid before I actually run out of supercharge. And the reason for that, we'll get into the artifacts real quick. So I've got Scrap of the Soul Cloak maxed out, increases my maximum supercharge and supercharge generation by 27%, and reduces my supercharge ability cooldown by 22.5%, and restores 7% max supercharge, which is great, and that's after I use a supercharge ability. So as you can see, it states it does not stack with the extended supercharge tactical mod. That was a change. There used to be a time where you could actually do that when they first came out with Scrap of Soul Cloak, but that was so long ago, and they've updated it since then. My white mods, I don't run the tactical mod extended supercharge because again, it's not going to stack. So there's really no point, not to mention Scrap of the Soul Cloak gives me a better effect than the tactical mod by itself. My second artifact that I run with my Scrap of Soul Cloak is my EOG, my Eye of Gemini, which I don't really care about Gemini's vision too much. What I care about is Caster's Watch. Which is for tank or healer role. Uh, so the main basic effect that you get with Eye of Gemini is it restores up to a maximum like 2%, 3%, 6% health, a maximum of 6% health and a maximum of 3% supercharge every second for supercharge abilities costing 25,000 all the way up to 10,000 respectively. And because I'm running Flood of Power, I've got that right in the middle, which I'm getting that 3% supercharge back, and I'm getting 6% health back every second. Again, with Caster's Watch, that's the one that I really care about. All friendly players within it are healed by the amount of health restored, so all of my green circles, this. Oh, and it didn't pop a circle because I'm not in combat. But so you see how it took down just a small chunk of my bar? Instead of taking down half a bar, which is what that is all about. That's what your Eye of Gemini is supposed to do for you. Now, if you're in a controller role or a damage role, you're gonna want to fix Pollux' gaze, but we're not gonna cover that because, again, I'm not a DPS on this toon, and I'm not a controller. I'm a healer. So what we're gonna focus on is Caster's Watch, which standing in Caster's Watch grants you 5% dominance, health, and resto. That's what you want. All right. You don't need to focus on Pollux' gaze when running this particular loadout. Now, as you can see up in my inventory there, sorry about that. In my inventory here, I've got the Page of Destiny. I've been going back and forth between whether or not I want to switch to Page of Destiny once I've got it maxed out. Um, here's everything you get from the Page of Destiny. I I'm not entirely sure I want to switch because I've been running this loadout for so long, and I think that this loadout can honestly, I haven't even seen the full potential that this loadout can do. Again, I don't have more than 251 skill points. Um, so the other artifact that I'm running on this is the Purple Healing Ray, which is the artifact that I was thinking about switching to Page of Destiny. Um, as you can see here, the purple light is the main effect that we're going with. That's the basic effect, which, healing charges your purple ray up to maximum of 4 times. This honestly caught me by surprise. For the first 3 effects of purple light, it charges it up to 5 times. The 4 times I get it pops faster. And I haven't maxed it out because honestly, outside of everything, you get all the same things, and honestly, you really see the max effect with Purple Healing Ray even at 180. You don't really need to take, and a lot of people have said this, you don't even need to take it to 180. You know, I I personally want to get it to 180 simply because I want that extra 4% on restoration. A lot of people say, no, you get the full effect at 160. You don't need to take it to 180. 180 is, it's not that big a deal. But when you're playing as a healer, especially when you're playing as a water healer, you want to heavily boost your resto. Um, let's actually leave Curse Gotham real quick so that you can see what my actual stats are outside of boosted current content, which I'm only like 5 levels away from the max CP right now, or CR. So here we are in regular Gotham, and right now they're doing the springtime event, which we're not going to focus on. We're actually going to run down over here away from some people over to newsstand. And yeah, so let's get back to it. So again, with resto and healers, that's what you really want to focus on. So me personally, I don't want to be I don't want to put everything in healer. Again, I personally think you need a good balance between healer and DPS if you're going to be a proper player. If you're going to be actually really effective and and especially if you love combat. If you love combat and you need to get your power or certain stacks in, you want a little bit in DPS. You don't want to put everything into resto. So for me, I only have one skill missing, and that's the Hand Blast Mastery. I'm not going to put anything into Hand Blast Mastery because that just allows me to switch through, all of the other masteries that I have, and I don't need that. You honestly don't, unless you're playing and you really want the full combination tree for whatever weapon you're choosing, you don't even need to go this far. If you're using hand blasters like I am, really what you want, the thing that you really want, you want pulse beam. that's the first thing you're gonna want. You're gonna want Pulse Beam. It's a continuous beam that stacks for, I think like 8 hits. And that right there, that's Pulse Beam. That right there is enough for continuous damage, especially if you're able to pull it off in fast rotations. Pulse Beam is perfect for basically getting, your combos in, or at least your hitbox in. Um, if you really want a little bit of extra combo, I recommend unlocking the Pulse Beam tree and unlocking the Uppercut tree, because it's a very nice thing to be able to do that and then switch into an uppercut. The Uppercut tree alone adds like 4 hits to your hitbox, to your hit counter. Sorry, my apologies. Um, and really, that's great, especially if you're trying to, reset your loadout. But honestly, what really works best with this, and the reason why I say you want Pulse Beam and Uppercut, is so I originally was running HOL bot and Oracle bot. I'm kind of liking how they did Oracle bot with her reboot and her remastering. So before they took away the equipment damage and all of the repairs that you could do, because again, before the update with Oracle bot, you were able to get damaged and you had to spend money on repairing your equipment and so on and so forth. And a lot of players were running out of money. A lot of players had to sell their colas and all this other shit just to get their equipment back up to snuff. And sometimes you couldn't even do that, because if you ran out of money, or if you didn't have the membership, or if you had all your money in escrow, which they got rid of that, thank God. Back then you had a maximum of $2,000 or $3,000 in your inventory, and that's not enough to fully restore your equipment. So originally they had OracleBot, and her support ability was every like every second or couple of seconds. And if you listen to it back then, listen very carefully, you could hear her tinkering in the background. But if your equipment was damaged, she'd be over there, fixing your equipment in the background, so you could run a raid and like I ran a raid once with her at rank 3, or whatever rank you get her back then, whatever rank you needed to unlock her basic support ability. And I ran a raid with her. I could run an entire raid and not receive, like, my equipment wasn't damaged. By the end of the raid, I was at full equipment durability. Then came the update. And, as you can tell now, her support ability it recharges 12.5% power after using 6 abilities. And now, for a while after the initial update, I was very confused as to what that meant. So I thought, do I have to use 6 abilities in succession? No. Yes and no. It's faster if you do it in rapid succession. But with Purple Healing Ray, so again, with Riptide, Solace of the Sea, Riptide instantly restores the last ability you use. So then I use Solace of the Sea again. That right there is 3 abilities, right? That right there is 3 abilities. So I don't need to rely on Flood of Power for that effect. I can run Solace, Riptide, Solace, Shield and Bubble, and then that right there is 5. So the moment I do Mending Wave, it's Mending Wave, correct? Yeah, Mending Wave. So the moment I do Mending Wave, that's my 6th ability. Then you come over here with Purple Healing Ray, and so a lot of people with Purple Healing Ray you know, you're going to see this purple circle rotating underneath you, and the moment you use a group heal, if you use a group heal, it's going to place an HOE on you and your group. Alright? Now, with Purple Healing Ray, another effect that comes with it is if you use your group heal, it automatically resets your group heal, which is nice. So you could do, for healer, for my set, it's Mending Wave. So I can run Solace, Riptide, Solace, Bubble, Shield, and then by this point, I'll have a purple circle, and I'll show you what it means. Oh, right. I'm sorry. I forgot I'm too strong for here. So we'll show you the full effect later on, but essentially, with Purple Healing Ray, you know, it gives you the same effect as Riptide, and that's nice. That's a really nice thing. You know, so I'm liking with this loadout, Oracle Bot is amazing. Oracle Bot actually restores the power you need. Now, before I placed Shazam in my second slot, I was running Oracle Bot and HOL Bot. An HOL Bot is regain 15% of your maximum power when you stun an enemy. And that's really nice, you know, that's a really nice thing to use, but that's for power, which gives me a boost in my power pool, which allows me to do, you know, more heals. Not faster heals, but more heals. And then they came out with Shazam, who's a healer-specific ally. And his ability is really, really neat. Especially, I haven't maxed him out yet, I plan to, but his ability is really neat, which weapon attacks grant stacks of 1% restoration up to a maximum of 15 stacks. Up to a maximum, once you max him out, it's actually up to a maximum of 25 stacks. And, you know, using a priority or group heal ability removes all stacks, and the cooldown is 0.5 seconds. So, the moment I use Mending Wave, by the time Mending Wave is halfway done, I've already got my stacks back. You know? And that's one of the reasons why I recommend Pulse Beam, Uppercut. And the reason for that is because you can hold Pulse Beam, get up to like 5 or 6 hits on your counter, go up to, you know, Uppercut, you're up to 10 or 12 stacks right then and there. And then you can just alternate between the two, and usually that's what I do. Thank you. You know, so this is my loadout, you know, for weapons and heals. Those are my allies that I'm running with this. I really can't wait to see how badass this is gonna be once I get Shazam to his max level. Your movement speed. Let's focus on that for a second. I have super speed. Now, a lot of people are gonna say you don't need to put more than one skill point into your movement speed. I'm going to tell you that's a lie. And the reason for that is because, yes, the first is your basic that you get at level 9. Great, you need that. You actually need that, not just for combat, but you need that for getting around anywhere. And here's what I'm going to tell you, you know, don't worry about anything unless you're running specifically a loadout with your movement speed. And at that point, that's a whole different loadout. We're not going to get into that. For anyone else, for anyone who's running raids or content or anything, or if you want to build your loadout, I highly recommend you fill out this tree. And the reason for that is because you've got your basic toggle fast movement speed, and you know, you've got your knockback resistant, you've got your restraint resistant, you've got your knockback recovery, your restraint recovery, and then breakout mastery. All these things you need in order to run you know, proper raids, proper content. Without breakout mastery, you're going to be stuck there and you're going to be helpless against control effects. You're going to be helpless against controller roles. It's just not going to be a good time for you. I do have to go for a second and take a call, but we'll be back in just a few minutes.